On the night of December 20th, 1968, teenage couple Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday drove to a quiet stretch of Lake Herman Road, a secluded spot where young couples often sought a bit of privacy. They had no idea that within minutes, their innocent date would become the opening chapter of one of the most chilling crime cases in American history. As soon as their car stopped, another vehicle slowly pulled up beside them. Inside was a stranger. He said nothing. No warning. He stepped forward, pulled out a gun, and fired directly at their tire, sending both teens into panic. David tried to protect his girlfriend, but the attacker forced them out of the car into the cold night. Seconds later, David was shot point blank in the head, collapsing beside the vehicle. Betty tried to run into the darkness, desperately hoping to escape. But the gunman fired repeatedly, 5 bullets striking her back, ending her life on the cold ground. No one knew who he was. No one understood why he did it. But that night, the Zodiac Killer made his first appearance, and this was only the beginning. On the night of July 4th, 1969, while fireworks lit up America's skies, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau parked at Blue Rock Springs Park to talk and escape the noise. They didn't know a car had silently followed them into the darkness. A few minutes later, the strange car returned and parked right behind them. At first, Darlene thought it was a police officer, but the man who stepped out wore no uniform. He approached with a large caliber handgun in his hand. Without saying a word, he fired through the car window again and again, trapping the couple in a terrifying moment between life and death. Michael was shot multiple times but remained conscious. Darlene was hit more severely and couldn't respond. As if finishing the job, the man walked away, only to return seconds later and fire another round at point-blank range. At the hospital, Michael, gravely wounded, still managed to give police a description: a heavy-set man, round face, around his early 30s. It was the first visual clue to the killer's identity. But the most chilling detail came 40 minutes later. A call from a payphone reached the police dispatcher. A calm male voice said, "I am the one who shot the 2 people at Blue Rock Springs." That night, the name Zodiac left its second mark, clearer, bolder, and more terrifying than ever. On August 1st, 1969, 3 major newspapers in Northern California received mysterious envelopes. Inside were 3 identical letters, each signed with a strange symbol, a circle crossed by a vertical and horizontal line. It would become the infamous insignia of the Zodiac. In the letters, the writer claimed responsibility for the recent attacks. He described crime scene details only the killer could know. But his purpose wasn't just to confess. Each envelope included a section of a bizarre 408-character cipher. Zodiac demanded the newspapers publish it on their front pages, or he would kill again. Once published, thousands attempted to solve the code, but none succeeded. Finally, a schoolteacher couple, Donald and Betty Harden, spent hours analyzing it and cracked the key. The decoded message horrified the nation. Zodiac said he killed simply because he enjoyed it, and believed his victims would become his slaves in the afterlife. This was no longer just murder, it was the grand entrance of one of America's most enigmatic killers. On the afternoon of September 27, 1969, college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing by Lake Berryessa. The weather was calm, the lake peaceful, no hint of the nightmare approaching. As they talked, Cecilia noticed a man watching from behind the trees. They assumed he was a fisherman, but minutes later, he approached. When he got close, they realized in horror he wore a hooded black costume with a Zodiac symbol on the chest. A gun was in his hand. With no chance to escape, Brian and Cecilia were forced to lie face down while Zodiac tied their hands with prepared ropes. Then he put the gun away and pulled out a large knife. He stabbed Brian repeatedly, then Cecilia more than a dozen vicious strikes, leaving them bleeding on the ground. His cold composure didn't end there. Zodiac walked to their car and wrote on the door with a marker the dates of his previous murders and the words, "by knife." Brian survived and became a key witness. Cecilia died days later. The Lake Berryessa attack marked the first time America truly saw Zodiac. Not through letters, not through rumors, but through the eyes of a survivor. On the night of October 11th, 1969, taxi driver Paul Stein picked up a fare in San Francisco's Presidio Heights. Everything seemed routine. The passenger asked to be dropped off at a quiet corner in a residential area, but minutes later, the ride turned into one of the city's most brazen murders. When the taxi stopped, the man in the back seat suddenly drew a gun and fired a single shot into Paul Stine's head. The killer calmly searched the body, took some cash, and cut away a piece of Paul's bloody shirt as a trophy. He didn't know 3 children were watching from a nearby house. From their second-floor window, they saw him wipe fingerprints from the cab and walk away normally, as if nothing had happened. Police arrived within minutes, but a fatal mistake had been made. Dispatch incorrectly reported the suspect as a black male. So when officers encountered a calm, middle-aged white man walking away, they let him go. Days later, newspapers received another letter with the bloodstained piece of Paul Stine's shirt inside and a chilling message: "I am the one you are looking for." The Stine murder proved just how bold Zodiac was, killing in the heart of San Francisco and disappearing like a ghost. After Paul Stine's murder, Zodiac didn't hide. Instead, he grew even more audacious. Soon after, the San Francisco Chronicle received another letter, same handwriting, same symbol, but this time with a threat that terrified the entire city. Zodiac claimed he planned to shoot out the tires of a school bus so it would crash and pick off the kids as they came bouncing out. Schools increased security. Bus routes were changed. Police escorts were assigned. Children were told not to sit near windows. No attack ever came, but the fear Zodiac spread was undeniable. He wasn't just a killer, he was a master of chaos. Then came a new challenge, a 340-character cipher, later called Z340. Far more complex than the previous code, it baffled experts for over 50 years. The FBI, CIA, and countless amateurs tried and failed. Finally, in 2020, 3 amateur codebreakers from the US, Australia, and Belgium solved it using software-driven pattern analysis and manual reasoning. The message wasn't a confession, just Zodiac bragging that he wasn't afraid of being caught and denying he was the man who called into a TV show. Z340 revealed nothing about his identity, only his obsession with taunting the world. After months of boasting letters, Zodiac shocked investigators with a short taunting message, a 13-symbol cipher accompanied by the line, "My name is," then only cryptic characters. Experts agreed the cipher was too short to decipher reliably. No patterns, no repetitions. To this day, the 13-character cipher remains unsolved. From 1970 to 1974, Zodiac sent more letters and postcards, some threatening bomb attacks, others bragging about kills no one could confirm. He even included diagrams for homemade bombs. But after 1974, the letters stopped. The final message, marked "Me equals 37, SFPD equals 0, felt like a last taunt. No one knows if he died, quit, or simply watched the chaos he created, amused from the shadows. Throughout decades of investigation, one question has haunted police and the public. How many did Zodiac actually kill? Officially, police can confirm 5 deaths and 2 survivors. But Zodiac bragged of 37 victims, even keeping scorecards in his letters. Me equals 37, SFPD 0. How many were real? How many were delusions? No one knows. Several suspects emerged over the years. The most famous was Arthur Lee Allen, an odd, violent man who lived near the crime scenes and owned a watch with the Zodiac symbol. Friends claimed he joked about hunting people. Police found disturbing items in his home, but the most important evidence, fingerprints and handwriting, didn't match. Allen died in 1992, his name forever tangled with suspicion. Another suspect was journalist Richard Gaikowski. A former colleague insisted he was Zodiac and even recognized his voice in a police call, yet no physical evidence linked him to any crime scene. Then there was Earl Van Best Jr., accused by his own son in a book. Some details lined up, but most claims were dismissed by experts. The most chilling truth, many suspects resembled Zodiac, but none matched perfectly. No prints, no DNA, no conclusive witness. One by one, they were ruled out, leaving only a list of maybes. And so, after more than half a century, Zodiac remains untouchable. A killer never identified, still one of the greatest mysteries in American crime history.